I'm $40,000 in credit card debt and need help with a strategy. So let's check this out. Hi, 44 male, married with a kid, was unemployed for almost a year. That's pretty crazy. To be unemployed for a year? Like to get nothing? That seems kind of odd. And recently landed a part time job making $35 per hour, about 20 hours a week. However, during my period of unemployment, I racked up credit card debt and have become 30 to 60 days late on all seven credit cards. My credit score is in the low 500s. I recently received a gift of around 10,000 and may receive some more in a few months. My question is, since my score is already so low and the debt is high and already showing 30 to 60 days late on my credit reports, what is my best strategy to handle this amount of debt? I would like to bring my score back up. Also, budgeting issues aside, should I just let them charge off my credit cards and then ask to settle the debts? Do a hardship program? Bankruptcy? I don't know if I will receive another lump sum in the future. Any and all help appreciated. Thanks. One, this person is obviously not a credit card person. Like they can't handle using a credit card. Now, from what it sounds like, was that it was like an emergency situation. That being said, to be unemployed for a year when you got a bunch of work history, like you were working before, like to find nothing, like nothing. Like there's jobs that are like hard labor that would be willing to hire you. You got to think about it. There are people who are able to get a job right now who can't even speak English. So to be unemployed for a year seems kind of crazy to me, right? Unless you're like a felon where there's a lot of places that might just literally not hire you. But even so, even if you are a felon, you could find something. It's going to be a lot harder, but you could find something. Like for someone with a kid to find nothing is super scary because you got to think about it like this. He got unemployed, right? And it took him a year to find a job. What happens if he were to get fired in a week? He's going to be screwed. He's going to be completely screwed. He's going to be homeless because he can't find a job, right? Like, if you're not able to find a job quickly, you're in a very bad situation, especially since you have no emergency fund. You probably didn't have an emergency fund beforehand and was probably just using your credit cards as an emergency fund where you just were burning through multiple credit cards, probably maxing all of them, right? It's like, yeah, 30 to 60 days late on all seven credit cards, basically probably maxed every single one of those seven credit cards. It's like there's so many issues in this situation. One, you got to get yourself in a position where you could find a job pretty quickly because financially speaking, you're not safe like at all. Like literally at all. Two, you need to be making a full-time living, right? You can't be doing like a part-time job. Now, part-time job is better than literally no job, but if you're able to do a part-time job that makes $35 an hour, you should be able to find a full-time job that pays $35 an hour or $25 an hour or $20 an hour or even literally minimum wage, right? But working the full amount of time and overtime depending on the place, right? There's so many factory jobs where yeah, you might be only making minimum wage, but you tend to get like time and a half where you could basically almost double what you could potentially earn, right, by working overtime. So it's just like you have to find a path that you can make money quickly, right? Because to be frank, the best route to go, in my opinion, as to like what I would do in this situation, would be pay minimums on literally everything, right? Pay minimums on literally everything, or, which is even a really bad situation, but what's the difference between you paying minimum at this point or nothing, right? Because you are in such a bad financial position that you need money to live and take care of your kid first and foremost, right? You and your kids' safety, roof over your head, is far more important than completely wrecking your credit score that is already completely wrecked, right? Like, it's going to take you multiple years and a lot of kind of like gray methods to boost up your credit score, right? To the point where it could be really good. Like, it's going to take you a very, very long time, which you don't have. Like, you do not have the time. You need to make money now. You need to make money today. You need to make more money tomorrow, right? Because if this person were to pay like the minimum payments, which they're again are already behind on, right? They probably got no money to pay their rent or their mortgage. Like, they're basically completely screwed. So, I'm going to just completely scratch paying the whole minimum payment because the guy's so far behind on all of his credit cards. I would just not pay them at all because who cares if they hound you? You literally got no money. You got no money. You got no full time living. Financially speaking, you're kind of worthless, financially speaking. But what you can do is doing literally everything in your power to get a full-time job. Like, that is your priority, is to get a full-time job or to get two, three, four part-time jobs, which is like a pretty crappy situation. But again, if you're able to make $35 per hour on a part-time job, you should be able to make $35 an hour on another part-time job. Like, or what you could do is do $35 per hour for this part-time job, and the remaining free time you go work a 100% commission sales job, try to grind that out, because depending on the sales job, you could escalate your income pretty dramatically. You could get to the point where you're basically making nothing to almost making like eight, nine, $10,000 a month. Now that's all like obviously before like taxes and whatnot, but there's like so many solar companies right now, like solar sales, where there's guys making like 60 to like 100K a year, right? And they just basically spend like 3 to 4 hours a day going around town doing door to door sales. Like, you might have to do that, right? You got to do that part time job for just the basic necessities for you and your kid, and then maybe the commission job so that you could just escalate your income to a crazy amount because you're not making enough in your situation. Like, you are completely late on all of your stuff. You are financially screwed. You are making no money. You are facing a wall with spikes that is closing in on you. Like, this is a very dangerous situation to be in, which is why we push so hard in getting people out of debt, because when you have so much debt, the biggest issue with that is that as time goes on and you increase that debt amount, the minimums start to increase, meaning that their like monthly cash flow, right, starts decreasing to like a compounding amount by like 29-30% per year. Like, it is disgusting, right? Because you could get to the point where your minimum debt payments on like your credit cards are more than your mortgage, are more than your rent, are more than all of your other needs for you to survive. And you basically got nothing to show for it, right? You're basically paying, I don't know, like, let's just say like this cup, right? You're paying like a minimum mortgage payment for like a cup or something that you bought potentially years ago, right? That you don't even have anymore because so many people end up spending their credit card, like using their credit cards for consumables. So like like a bunch of meals that you overspent like a year ago is something that you're paying for now and the next decade and the next decade after that, while also completely destroying your monthly cash flow, right? Because most people don't necessarily increase their income by a dramatic amount, right? Which is a very sad situation, but like maybe someone will get like a 5K raise, or like let's just say like a 3 to 5% raise per year, right? Depending on the industry, right? Which is nice, but if you got like a 30% APR on your credit cards that you're maxed out, that raise doesn't basically mean anything, right? In terms of the amount of money that you actually have access to, right? So it's just something to really think about. Like, this person needs to basically not care about the credit cards at all, get as much money as possible coming in by almost any means possible, you know, legally speaking, so that their needs for him and his kid can be met. Like, that is the most important thing. Then start steadily improving your situation. If they take it to collections, whoop de doo da day, right? Because your credit score is so brutalized that even if you were to try to improve your credit score, you are screwed for years, right? And there's like only a few ways that you could dramatically improve your credit score in a very short amount of time, which this person can't really do because they got no money, right? And they got no time because they need to spend that time to go and make more money. Like, this is a very, very dark situation, like a really dark situation. Like, to be 30 to 60 days late on literally every single credit card that you have is insane. Like, this is so insane. Bankruptcy is definitely not an answer though, because again, the biggest issue, which we mentioned earlier, the biggest issue with this person's situation is that it took them a year to find a part-time job, right? A part-time job, not a full-time job. It took them over a year to find a part-time job. Now, I get people, depending on their situations, could be obviously situational, circumstantial, right? Because, personal finance is personal, that kind of thing. But like I mentioned, if they got fired literally this week or next week, they are completely like shoving a cucumber up their butt, right? Like, they are basically screwed, right? Because they can't survive another year off of these maxed out credit cards because they're already so far behind. Like, you have to get yourself in a situation where you can go find a job or get any job that gives you money, that straight up gives you money, right? Because if you can't find a job that gives you money, you're just going to go back into this situation and maybe even into a worse situation. Because then employers are going to be like, wait, so it's been a year since you last worked, and then you got fired like a week after or like a few weeks after you basically, well, so you basically end up getting fired from your job that you recently got hired to, and you're now also another like a few months not working at that point. Like, what is wrong with you where you can't find a job in that situation? That's what employers are going to think. That's what people who are going to be hiring people think. That's what recruiters are going to be thinking. They're like, hey, what the actual hell is going on where you went like a year without getting a job, then you could only find a part-time job, then you got fired, then you also went another few months without getting anything, or potentially even getting like an interview. So it's like, why should we hire you? Why wouldn't we hire someone that is consistently in the work environment and can easily transition from their current job to our job because we're willing to pay more? It's just this is a very bad situation that this person is in, and what they need to do, what they really need to do, is make sure that they can find a job again, like very quickly. And also get another job literally right now. Like another part time job, literally any job. You gotta increase your income. Because nothing really matters. Paying off this debt doesn't even matter if you can't even freaking survive. Like, the guy's not even surviving really right now because he's completely maxed out and he's late. And you can't keep charging basically to credit cards that are multiple months late that are maxed out because guess what? They're going to lock those cards up, and you're probably not going to be able to get approved to another line of credit. So you're going to be completely screwed. Completely screwed. But that's what I would do. Try to do everything I can to try to make some money, get things kind of like normalized, and then start working on it. But I wouldn't even bother trying to pay down this debt until I got money, good money coming in, because you're not even doing the minimum to survive, basically. Like, this is crazy. This is like absolutely crazy. Like, you got a kid. Like, come on. If you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com, go down below. Like, stay tuned for more financial commentary. Give your thoughts on this because to me, this is crazy. To be over like a year without any job, like at all, any job, like literally nothing, not even freelance work, not even like working gigs for like a couple $100. It's like doing everything purely off of multiple cards. It's just, this is so bad. This is such a bad situation.